Well, hello, my lovelies, and welcome to another episode of Gaming with yours truly, Miko's Musings. We are playing our second session of the Stanley Parable. However, I have just come to the realization that there was no saving, and so what I'm going to do on this go round is try and play different paths than I played yesterday, and we'll see what we get. Okay, so hang on. Before we get started, can I just say something? Thank you for actually setting the clock both times you booted up the game. A lot of people don't take this step seriously. They just leave the clock set at 12 and call it a day. But you're actually taking the time to set the clock, and I appreciate that. That's how I know that you care about this experience. You're paying attention. I didn't even have any way of knowing if the times you're setting are correct. Tell you what, I'll make you a deal. Since you've been so cooperative, next time you boot up the game and see the screen, just set the clock to your favorite time. Go ahead, pick whichever time you want, even if it's not the correct time. You've earned it. All right, I'll let you get back to the video game now. So, alrighty, so we can't save the game, but it recognizes that this is our second playthrough. That's interesting.
This is the story of a man.
Okay, we're gonna skip that because we've done that. Trophy earned. Quit the game and then start it again. Oh, that's a hell of a trophy. Trophy earned. Get a trophy for getting. Sorry about that. Okay.
All
Everybody's
of his
missing.
co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Okay, I know the first time I
When
played.
Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet
we
there
went
was not a
through
single
here.
person here either. Feeling
Read
a
all the
wave
PowerPoint
of disbelief,
slides.
Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Hoping he'd coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's
Okay,
office.
we didn't do this. Go down into this super ultra creepy basement. Oh,
But
there's a car
Stanley
here.
just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he
We
went?
just.
And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is
Okay.
all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation.
Okay,
His
this is
co-workers
trippy.
weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I
Trying to
suppose
take
I'll wake
note
up
of the
soon.
walls.
I'll have to go back to my boring real-life
Coffee.
job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to
Okay.
gently float above the ground. Then he
Ooh.
imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head.
Ooh, I love the
One he
stars.
was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking?
Where's the star?
Now the
Where'd
voice was
the stars
describing
go?
itself being considered by Stanley, who found
This
it
is very
particularly
meta.
strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself? believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself. Stanley is as
Okay, I
awake
might
right
stop.
now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me
And
wake up, he
the
thought to himself.
cubicle. Betcha
I'm
it's the
through with
cubicle.
this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job.
There is no wife.
All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine.
Does anybody actually say that?
I am okay.
That feels very therapy. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We didn't go back to the
Stanley
cubicle.
began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just
it's
someone
turning
tell
red.
me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Well, that was stressful. Stanley needs a Xanax.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
What?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular
What?
day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't.
What the
It was
hell?
comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Sorry, Mariella. Alrighty. Well, that was interesting.
All of
I
his
like the
co-workers were
Starfield.
gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Okay, so we went to the left, and I think... I'm trying to think if there were any
When
options
Stanley
down
came
there
to
we
a set
didn't
of
do.
2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Okay, we've done... Okay, I think
And so he detoured through the maintenance section,
Oof.
walked straight ahead to the opposite door,
We've done
and
that.
got back on track.
Have we done this? Okay, this... I'm losing track of which paths I've taken and which ones I haven't.
Yet there was not a single person
Oh,
here either.
okay, we're back in the meeting
Feeling a
room.
wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on. Coming to a staircase, Stanley
Okay.
walked upstairs to his
Is this the
boss's
creepy
office.
basement? Okay, that's the creepy basement we just did. Ooh. up to the boss's office. And we've done the boss's office specifically, but are there options around here? Oh, I remember the crazy panda bear. Facelessness.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Doesn't do anything if we put in enough wrong codes.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Okay, we've done that. Okay. Can we go up? Nope. Down, 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 burning ring of fire. Went down, down, down.
Descending deeper into the building,
higher.
Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Alrighty, let's see. Ooh. Okay, we went
Stanley
down
walked
here.
straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Okay, so we went down that way. So we're gonna actually go into the mind. Oh, is this that screen room? All the desk monitoring. It's not. Okay. Do we press the big button?
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Ooh. It's very Charles Xavier. This is new. All the cameras. Should we boot up the cameras? Absolutely. Let's spy on everybody.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom
104 got fired. I wonder if we can find 104's desk. Alright, alright, alright.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it?
That is
was it even
very
possible?
high.
Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life.
Oh, are
For
we gonna
he would
shut
dismantle
it
the
down?
controls once and
Shut it
for
down.
all.
Alrighty, so we need to find a way to unalive the machine. Mind controls idle, awaiting input.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Okay.
Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls,
I
did
was
you?
feeling
After
contrary.
they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control?
Ooh,
Stanley,
it looks like the control
I
game.
applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave.
Oh, we can't turn it off
If you
now.
want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are said to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say, 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires.
Okay, we can't
Oh,
press
this
the
is
buttons.
much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about
Can we
me,
press a
where
button?
we're going,
Are there any
what all
buttons?
this means. I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this
narrator's
version of events has
psychotic.
been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the
Ooh,
next
this
go-around will be even better.
Like, I don't know what I'm
My
hoping to
goodness,
accomplish here,
only
but
34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you.
oh my gosh, the
Running
haptics
from
are going
button to
crazy.
button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is?
Oh, this is awful. The haptics are 4. Okay, we get everything
You're in
keeps
for
saying
quite
4.
a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds
Isn't
ticking
it,
away
though?
to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're
What?
powerless. To see you
4 doesn't
made
do anything?
humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy.
It's
You
a
wanted to
tragedy. This
control
is a
this world,
tragedy.
that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock,
Oh my
Stanley.
gosh, the
That's
haptics. They're
30
making my
seconds
hands
you have
tingle.
left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending
Ooh.
here, just you being blown to
Goodbye,
pieces.
427.
Will you cling
You are the
desperately to your
weakest
frail
link.
life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count, or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke.
Alrighty.
And believe
Do we
me, I
accept
will
our
be
fate?
laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I
2,
say, happily
1.
ever after.
Goodbye. Oh, oh, my hands are like, that tingly sensation when you're like something falls asleep, your foot or your arm or something, and it feels like that because the haptics on the controller have been going crazy for that timer
All
countdown.
of his co-workers were gone. What
Okay,
could it mean?
let's go do
Stanley
this,
decided to go to the meeting room.
and then we'll
Perhaps he had
shut it
simply
down the
missed
way
a
we're
memo.
supposed to.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it
What was the
mean?
code?
Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be?
What's the code?
In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But
That
of
was
course,
close.
Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
2845.
Yet incredibly,
Okay, I
by
gotta
simply
remember that.
pushing random
2845.
buttons on the
2845.
keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
2845. Okay. Let's
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
go and do what we are supposed to do and actually turn it off and see what happens.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
I was reading online that there are 19 possible endings to the Stanley
Now the
Parable.
monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Okay.
But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content, walking Eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And
Go
as the
do
cold
this.
reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that
Superhero.
this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he
This
would
better not do the
dismantle
same
the
thing.
controls once and for all.
Woo! Oh, that's pretty.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over?
Ooh,
Yes!
haptics.
He had won. He had
We won?
defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him. For it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand,
Ooh, I love the
but to let
piano.
go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his.
Oh, I love
And
this.
that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing.
Oh, look how
Stanley
pretty it
stepped
is.
through the open door.
Phew.
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin,
Oh,
the
cool.
feeling of
This
liberation,
is awesome.
the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Oh, that's the best ending. Beat the game. Complete the Stanley Parable. Got a trophy. Okay, well, you know what, my lovelies? I think we're gonna stop there because it says we beat the game, and I think that that's a good spot at about a half hour in. And between last session and this session, I think we've explored a good chunk of the endings. I didn't really keep track of how many, but quite a few. I know we're missing a couple. I feel like I remember something kind of bright and colorful and kaleidoscopic, and I'm wondering where that is. But if I continue to play, I feel like I'm going to start doing a lot of repetitive gameplay here. So we're going to call it quits. And thank you for joining me on the Stanley Parable Deluxe Edition. And I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your morning, noon, and night. Bye.